Everybody, we are on the air live at the Can TV studios at 322 South Green. Glad to have you here for the 50th Ward Aldermanic election runoff special. Want to just say want to give you a little quick thing about what we're going to be doing and say some quick highs. We're going to have Alderman Berny Stone calling in, and he'll be here together with us for the first half. Then we're going to show you a little video from the regular show that we're hoping you're going to enjoy quite a bit. In the second half, we'll be joined by Ahmed Khan. My co-host today is the immortal television personality who's on in every single cable system, on every single channel, every single day. Of course, that's Doug Zeldin, Rabbi Doug. But in any event, I want to say a quick hi to my friend JP and his dad, who I know are tuning in right now. I want to say hi to Susan Vorhand, who was very nice, very noted author and psychologist, who wrote in on the Facebook page, as well as Claudia Miller-Negron, and hoping that her dad is getting well in a hurry. The 50th Ward runoff election, for those of you who are unaware, is going to be a very fierce battle between incumbent Berny Stone, who led in the initial election. He had 37.5% to 33% for Deborah Silverstein. This has become the hottest battle in town. At this point, I want to also let you guys see my co-host, Rabbi Doug.
Hi, everybody. How are you, Avi?
Good. Pleasure to have you here. And how are you feeling about the election right now?
Well, it's certainly a heated race. It certainly is close. There's no question about that. And I think there are people teetering both ways, up and back and up and back, and a lot of undecided people right now. Especially many of the undecided people are the people who were not voting for either of the two candidates in the original election. And right now, of course, Berny Stone, of course, had the edge because he had the larger percentage of votes and won the election, but not over 50%. So now this runoff, as is the policy in Chicago, if you don't get 50%, you're in a runoff with the second highest candidate. And that's where we're at right now.
It's absolutely true. By the way, I'd like to urge all of you, we put out a special edition of the Northtown News Magazine, a print edition. It's the first time we've done that in all the years we've been doing the Northtown News Magazine. I want to make it clear that the opinions in that issue are mine, and although Sonny Hirsch participates in the TV show, he did not participate in this. And here's a copy. I know we've got a slide of it also, but you'll see it all over the 50th Ward. Thank you, Sonny. It's very important to note that this is a Sonny Hirsch election special, the 50th Ward Aldermanic runoff. Keith McDonald is here also. He is our real rock in the studio. We thank you so much for being here. I also want to thank Joe Centavani and Amari Nibwa. I know I got that wrong, Amari. I'm sorry. Not to mention Leslie Johnson and Terrence Morris at Can TV for all their help in getting it together. Now, in terms of the election itself, I see a situation where Deborah Silverstein is getting more money. She's getting it from special interests, out-of-town lobbies. She's getting it from the labor unions that control the workers. They're going to want raises for all the people, which is going to be a little difficult when you've got the budget hole you do.
From Rahm Emanuel?
Yep.
From his campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. He's forking out big money because he'd basically like to see a rubber stamp in office.
Yeah.
He wants somebody who's going to jump when he says jump and vote the way he's going to vote exactly.
And he certainly knows that Berny Stone isn't going to jump. Berny Stone votes from his heart. He doesn't jump when people tell him to jump.
That's correct. And one of the beauties of Berny Stone that I really like is he's pledged absolutely no new taxes. And that's the reason Mayor Daley got ticked off at him, is because he voted against a budget that included raises. And you've got these silly situations where, you know what? Deborah Silverstein is putting out some of the funniest campaign literature I've ever seen. You see negative piece after negative piece after negative piece.
Repeated. It's as if each one has the same thing that was written on the last one with a little change of picture or a little change of format.
The thing one of the ones that I think is one of the funniest is, and I've gotten the same thing about 3 or 4 times already, is Berny Stone has voted to raise his own salary 8 times. Now, he's been alderman for 37 years. Now, if you're working a job for 37 years and you only get 8 raises, I think you'd complain and probably have found another job.
I agree. And you know, somebody says, well, Bernie Stone voted. Well, so did the whole city council. That's why it was passed and they all got raises. It's not like, oh, okay, we're only voting for Bernie to get a raise and nobody else is. It's a city council vote. So even if Bernie had voted no, he would have gotten the raises because of the rest of the city council. He went with them. But certainly in 37 years, almost 38 years, that many raises is not an issue, really.
No, 8 raises in 37 years. You know, right now on the screen you'll see a picture. That particular picture is something like 36 members of the city council standing behind Bernie. 36 of the 50 sitting aldermen have endorsed him, despite the fact that Rahm Emanuel, you know, is a Deborah Silverstein person, and Rahm Emanuel wants to control the council. These people, whether they're with Rahm or not, and most of them are with Rahm, want to show that they're independents, and they want people to know that Bernie Stone is the right guy. He knows the ins and outs of what's going on.
What reason would there be for them to vote him to be the vice mayor of Chicago if they didn't support him in his endeavors as an alderman and being reliable and having good judgment? They come to him for advice. So, you know, they voted him to be the vice mayor. It would be an oxymoron not to support him. If we want him to be vice mayor, why would we not support him in his run for re-election?
No, absolutely. And if you take a look at it, the fact is, whether people are black, whether they're Hispanic, male, female, you know, Jewish, you know, Christian, Catholic, you know, just about everything in the spectrum that's in city council right now. These people, you know, around 3/4 of city council wants Bernie Stone to
Technically,
be
I think there is no one Hispanic in city council right now. There's going to be in the next city council. Isn't that right?
No, there is. Actually, there's an Indian. Amiwa Pavar in the
somebody
47th
new,
ward. There's definitely Hispanic members of the city council.
I know that there's somebody new coming into the city council, a new ethnic group.
Well, that's the Indian. That's I'm not pronouncing. I know it's Pavar, P-A-W-A-R.
Where is he from? Do you know?
He's in the 47th ward.
47th ward.
And as a matter of fact, Gene Schulter, who was the incumbent there for many years, stepped down last minute. He had one of his top lieutenants run. Pavar, who works in Northwestern in the emergency management office, hit the ground running with the campaign, and he actually got something like 51% the first time out.
I'm thinking Hispanic. One of the Hispanic members of city council was running for mayor. But I knew there was a new ethnic group in when you mentioned that.
No, the Indians are the new ethnic group in there. As a matter of fact, a number of the Hispanics are endorsing.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
You know, when 3/4 of the city council is endorsing you, that's pretty much the way it goes.
It's quite an accomplishment to have your colleagues look at you that way, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, one of the other things well, first of all, there's so much about her literature that bothers me. It's a good thing I can laugh about it. But, you know, Sonny, why don't you show people what she looks like? And in the meantime, you know, maybe make that phone call we talked about. She talks about Bernie's against letting veterans ride the CTA for nothing. You know, he's for his own free ride. He's $15,000 in a chauffeur and a Lexus. Well, first of all,
I want to make it clear. First of all, you know, this is something else. First of all, one of his workers drives him. It's not that he hires a chauffeur. One of his workers drives him because he has trouble with his legs.
Well,
with
his
the
knees,
feeling.
he can't drive anymore. He's on a cane.
So he can't drive, right? And so one of his drivers drives him in his car.
Yeah, Joe Chuckjay.
Yeah, and that's one of his workers. I mean, it's one of his employees from the alderman's. He's an aldermanic aide.
Right, and let's understand when he's driving him. First of all, he drives him downtown, goes upstairs, and works in the aldermanic office.
Yeah, he's a worker.
Handling constituent problems all during the day. When he comes to the house for the TV show, when I see him go elsewhere in the neighborhood, basically, as soon as he drops off Alderman Stone, he's on the phone talking to constituents.
Doing work.
He's fielding the alderman's calls. He's helping do things for city council. I mean, he's working the whole time. And let's $15,000. They're actually taking now the way that works is each and every single alderman has $70,000 in discretionary money. They can do anything
for
they want.
personal expenses.
Right. For instance, you know, Deborah Silverstein, her $70,000 in discretionary income. I mean, based on what Ira's doing with the discretionary income from the committeeman's office, he's paying Deborah. Maybe Deborah will give her kids allowance out of that. Who knows what Deborah's going to do? But the fact is that virtually all the 50 aldermen spend all $70,000. That is not $15,000 a year. That is a much longer lease, and that is the total cost of the longer lease. So once again, Deborah, you're distorting facts. By the way, I want you to know, too, that between Doug and I, there's an empty space here. This empty space right here, that is the transparency of Deborah Silverstein's campaign. Deborah Silverstein has been invited multiple times to come on the shoots. It did come on the first one. Then, semi-politely, but dishonestly, because she was in town with the Tribune, didn't come on the second one, then stopped answering the questions. Stopped answering the questions completely to come to the shows and all the rest of it. So the open space you see between Rabbi Doug and I, this transparent space, is her transparency. And that's about as much transparency as you can expect if, God forbid, she should actually become our alderman.
I did invite all the candidates onto my show also. At the very first debate, which took place on Devon Avenue, I invited all the candidates onto my show, and only 2 of them decided to join me, and she did not.
Well, in my case, at least, I was fortunate enough to have Ahmed Khan also come on, and she did come on the once. And you know what? I think that's why she didn't come on the second time or the third time or the fourth time, because she's been invited multiple times since. She's kind of, she looks like a piece of wood. I mean, she's just not, she doesn't come off well on the air, and I think it's pretty apparent to people who see the show. But you know what? I don't need to talk about the appearance in her and all the rest of it. Her stands alone in that negative literature. She talks about how that Alderman Stone voted against free rides for veterans. And she says, well, he's getting the chauffeur-driven ride, okay? And Alderman Stone, you know, is busy not letting our veterans, you know, ride the CTA for nothing. The fact of the matter is that Berny Stone himself is a veteran, and he's a veteran of World War II. So he has served our country. Now, the Silversteins, basically they're self-serving, but they've never served in the military. Now, on top of that, why did he vote against a free ride? Now, you already had the free rides for the seniors, which has really been choking the CTA like there's no tomorrow, which the legislature is looking to repeal right now if they haven't done it already. But the cost, if you let all these other people ride free.
It wasn't just veterans. It was a package deal
Right,
for a package deal, and maybe the alderman himself can address this when he comes on the air. It was a package deal for a number of things that was voted down. It wasn't, can veterans be on or veterans not be on for free? And that's something that isn't pointed out in the literature.
No, definitely. By the way, Sonny, you should probably give the alderman a call and see if he's been delayed. Can you hear me? Sonny, give the alderman a call. In any event, okay, but let's talk about this. The cost of a ride on the CTA, and I'm a CTA user, would have gone to $3 and probably put more people in cars even with the high gas prices. Because you're talking about people without a lot of income, you know, having to pay that much more money. As it is, the price went up, you know, from $1.75 to $2 for buses, from $2 to $2.25 for the CTA, and you're looking at a $3 price. He doesn't want those prices raised. He wants to be fiscally responsible. He voted against Daley's budgets and tax increases, which is one of the reasons why Daley wasn't that fond of him. But you know what? One of the things you got to say, he's really shined the last few years. And sometimes when a person gets older, they're not concerned about themselves as much as they are wanting to leave a good legacy and wanting to leave the world a better place for them being participants and being in it.
Well, he could have retired a long time ago, so obviously that's his goal. He doesn't. You know,
he's looking to make this a better society.
As he said, I heard him say in an interview, he said, you know, I could be collecting my pension right now, but why should I get a pension when and pay me double and when I'm just taking a salary now and still working and helping the people?
And he enjoys it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he's at his downtown. He's at the downtown office 4 mornings, bright and early. And I've actually called as early as a little after 7 and gotten him over there.
He is the earliest. He is the earliest person to arrive downtown every day at City Hall for the alderman.
He also has the highest percentage of attendance at council and committee meetings. And you know what? She's really trying to bring up the age card. And she says, oh, I never bring up age, but I happened to see the ad she put in the Jewish Star, in the brand new Jewish Star. And you know what? It talks about how she's vibrant and active. You know, vibrant and active. Take a good look at her. I mean, she's like a piece of wood. But in terms of being active, you know, she talks about how she's a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And that's an example of her qualifications for the community. Well, she only joined around the same time she started to run. And in that time, oh, very good. Nice effect, Sonny. And in that time, she barely attended a meeting, didn't participate. There's something called SPIF, which is Small Business Investment Funds. She's telling everybody that this is money available to neighborhood merchants, that there is $1 million available and nobody's taking advantage of it. If you pick up a copy of the Northtown News Magazine, and by the way, you can find it by going to aviworld.com, and also all these shows, including this one, is going to be available at our regular Northtown News Magazine website at www.ntnm.org. If you go there, you're going to find...
And tvrabbi.com.
Oh, and tvrabbi.com for Rabbi Doug. And he has interviewed both... It's Ahmed Khan together with Alderman Stone.
We have all... our last election show is also on tvrabbi.com also, as well.
And make sure you catch it. But the point I want to make here, though, is that, in fact, if you go to the website that's in the paper, you can look up that Small Business Investment Financing District, and you will see that there is nothing even close resembling $1 million, and that people are taking advantage of it. I've seen her on the Channel 11 10-minute thing between Stone and Deborah Silverstein, and she's talking about, we have an international marketplace on Devon, and nobody's marketing it. Well, first of all, Deborah, if you look at the banners for the last 20 years say International Marketplace. In terms of nobody marketing it, nationally award-winning James Beard award winner Steve Dolinsky's always got it on his ABC 7 segments, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. Not that the segments are always about Devon Avenue. He also talks about it on his radio show. The other food writers talk about it. Check Please is featured at plenty of times. People within the food community know about it. People within shopping community know about it. And by the way, maybe if you had gone to the Chamber, you would know that the Chamber actually offers tours along the international marketplace where you can just see all the different shops or actually participate in going to various restaurants. But then again, Deborah, because you're not involved in the community, sorry, you're not, okay, you don't know things like this, that this already is being marketed that way. And you know what? Even though the business is better on Devon than other neighborhoods, there's still some, even though we may not technically be in a recession, tell me the economy is wonderful. And tell me that hasn't affected the businesses on Devon. I mean, if you take a look further north in the 41st and 45th wards, you're looking at a situation where you've got 40 to 45% store vacancies in most of the areas. We've got more vacancies, but nothing close to those numbers. Nothing even remotely resembling close to those numbers.
And the businesses that are there, that have been there for a decent period of time, are flourishing. They're flourishing. If you go through Devon to the east of California Avenue, all the way down to Ridge, most of those businesses have been there for a decent period of time, and they're flourishing. It's the other side of California where there's been a changeover because different ethnic groups have tried to open new businesses and just haven't really brought in the new people because they've been a repeat of other businesses that are in the area, and the other businesses already had a solid clientele.
It's a bustling shopping district, and as a matter of fact, if you pick up the Northtown News Magazine newspaper, print edition, you will find a list of 100 neighborhood businesses, every single imaginable ethnic, racial diversity, everything. 100 businesses that are all endorsing Alderman Stone. So why, Deborah, do you think that you're going to do all these wonderful things for the business community when the fact is that by 100 of them endorsing Alderman Stone, and I've seen your financial forums, you have gotten contributions from 2 nearby businesses, just 2, one of them a restaurant on Devon, and one of them actually on the wrong side of Peterson to be a shelter care management place on the other side of the ward. The local business people are not supporting you and really don't want you. They're not only happy with the way things are going, they're seeing improvements and growth. if you take a look throughout the area, you've got a brand new Aldi that just opened in the last year. We didn't have a major supermarket. Dominic's opened up a mega store on Ridge Avenue, just south of Pratt. You've also got that beautiful new parking garage that's going to be opening shortly. That's just about finished construction, and that's going to achieve a lot to help parking along Devon. You've also got the brand new, and here's the thing: the school, the West Ridge School. That's a big deal, and that's something the Silversteins try to spike as best as they could. And that's something that Berny Stone single-handedly was able, that was a real fight between Stone and Silverstein. And they were privately working with people that didn't want it anywhere near their area.
And I want you to know the people in the area that didn't want it, first of all, most of them have said it hasn't been a big deal, so we overreacted. But even those that weren't happy with it or aren't happy with it, you got to realize, and Alderman Stone said this, I'm everybody's alderman. I'm not just the alderman for these people in this neighborhood or for this religion or for this ethnic group. I'm everybody's alderman. And we have people going to school who are taking classes in gymnasiums, up on stages of their theaters, in the hallways that are empty. We have 2 or 3 different satellite locations that we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in rent to use those places. By opening the school, which the funds were available for it, we have alleviated those children in the overcrowding in the schools. We've alleviated all that rental for those satellite locations. These people have a school in their own neighborhood
that they thousands of dollars a year.
There's no buses to the school. It's all walking. It's all local people who were in these other schools.
People have to be west of California between Lincoln and Toohey in order to go to the school. No busing is correct.
It's just worked out great. Everybody can walk to school. And now the new road is opening up from Kedzie Avenue, so the cars can pick up and drop off their kids from Kedzie Avenue. They don't even have to go around to Whipple into the residential side of the school to pick up and drop off their kids. And Alderman Stone was very careful not to allow the road to go straight through to Whipple, because that would be a hindrance to the people living in the neighborhood, and also could be dangerous for the children crossing to have another road going through. So he made sure that it is only a road to the school and back to Kedzie. Very, very smart.
And by the way, one of the initial things that Silverstein tried to do is he tried to provide land that's owned for the road from his largest contributor, and they were only asking $3 million for land that's sitting vacant for years that nobody wants. And Stone was able to, and the Board of Ed were able to get, I should say the Board of Ed was able to get the road from People's Gas for a much, much smaller, not even close to that price. So, and let's remember also, when I lived near Boone School myself, the traffic near Boone School is much better. You know, it's a much better situation for the kids. The classrooms aren't so large. The teachers are happier about it. It's easier to manage at Clinton too. Better traffic around the area, easier. It's easier for everybody, and it's improved everybody's, educational well-being. And in fact, and this is an if, we don't know for sure yet if there's going to be summer school or not.
Right.
But if there's not summer school and the kids are testing out and it's a pretty high academic school, the new school is like producing really good academic grades so far. If things work out that there needs to be no summer school there, he's going to make that area available for neighborhood camps, during the summer when school isn't in session. And on top of that, the school is available to the community after hours.
By contacting the principal and making an appointment to use the school building. And it is available for community meetings and parties and things like that for community members.
They're also creating special ed classes specifically designed for the special needs of the different ethnic groups in our community also, to help children with special education needs. And this is something that wouldn't have been available otherwise, not to mention the fact that now this is one of these safe school zones. So you pull a gun around there, you try to do some drugs around there. It's a protected district with higher penalties.
Plus, the neighbors
and
have
more
told
police.
me that the neighbors have told me that the police protection in the neighborhood and patrols have increased, and those neighbors are very happy about that, because there's a park right by there also, and they're very happy to have those extra patrols nearby.
No,
Also, by the way, Westridge School is state of the art. It is the finest of availability in computer work and in the design of the school and everything. It's just
science
amazing.
labs.
Science labs, everything. It's really amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful school. And interestingly enough, for all the people that the Silversteins were rallied to object to it, and by the way, his mom lives right across the street from the school. His mom, who was a crossing guard for decades.
The senators.
The senators, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the senators'
the mother-in-law of Aldermanic candidate Deborah. And in any event, despite all this stuff, the Silversteins Deborah Silverstein beat Berny Stone by only 11 votes in that precinct. So that is where her husband grew up. That's where her mother lived. That's where you have the biggest objections to the school. And yet when people saw what it was, and I'll bet he does even better than that in this coming election.
And now, of course, he won more precincts than she did. But interestingly enough, in her own precinct that she lives in, she did win by 3 votes.
Right, 3 whole votes.
3 votes.
So in all the neighboring precincts, I mean, the places that were Ira Silverstein's strength when he ran against Stone for committeeman turned out to be very, very weak for Deborah.
A lot of people, I think, and this is what I hear, and certainly I'm not as deep into the knowledge of the whole circle as you are, Avi, but what I hear in the community is a lot of people are very afraid to put a lot of power into one family. It seems like, you know, if your husband is a senator, I hear people say, and I'm just quoting people that I don't want to give my name, if your husband is a senator, it seems like he has a lot of influence over you and what you're doing, and kind of it's like the senator is running your votes in the city council too in some ways. And then when the senator is supported by the congresswoman, then it seems like there's a lot of power all being channeled through one channel rather than diverse, you know, decisions being made and diverse votes, you know, based on community, but rather what you're being influenced by from behind.
You know, one of the things that the Tribune pointed out in their most recent article on the 50th Ward race is they brought up a quote from the 1998 session where they were endorsing candidates from Ira Silverstein, who was running against Randy Barnett, who was the ward committeeman and husband of Alderman Marge Lorino in the 39th Ward. And Silverstein said that there's no way that much power should be concentrated in one family, and that's an important reason why to vote against Randy Barnett. And Randy Barnett's a great guy, by the way, for state senator. So now Silverstein, 12 years later, is pulling the same thing.
I think Michael Moses also in his campaign also brought up that same point that, you know, here it's an oxymoron. You make that statement and here you're doing it yourself.
Yeah, he brought up exactly that point. It's totally, you know, it's totally absurd. But then again, listen, you know what? One of the things you're going to see in the beginning of the second half, unfortunately, the Silversteins are somewhat, they're bullies. I mean, they're out and out bullies. And we're going to show you a piece of tape from the upcoming show that's coming on the air this Thursday at 7:30, the Northtown News Magazine. We want you to be able to see that.
And repeated Friday at 3:30.
Repeated Friday at 2:30.
At 2:30.
And
at 2:30.
Yeah, we want to make sure you see that. We're also going to segue. When we do that, Ahmed Khan's going to join us, who was an Aldermanic candidate in the runoff, and we'll let him tell you why he's here and what he's representing. And we want to thank you for joining us. And apparently Alderman Stone got caught in the ward. There was a lot of important business. It's Sunday morning. Many candidates are out and about campaigning and helping the troops and all the rest of it. We're sorry he wasn't able to join us, but the fact of the matter is you will be able to see many, many interviews with them if you go to our website.